Anyway, guys, we got to do a show right now. So let's buckle up here. So let's focus in here. It's going to start any second.
Okay.
Okay. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR show.
Let's
go. Also known as the DNVR Nuggets Podcast, presented by Bet365. Never ordinary. Today, pretty ordinary.
I would say.
Yeah, this show is going to be a pretty ordinary one because we're going to talk about the Denver Nuggets. We're going to give a little hangover takes. There's a new straw poll, guys. Are you guys still into the straw poll? Has the straw poll come?
You know me as the only one who cares about the MVP on this show.
Oh, Harry.
I'm so into it.
I couldn't wait. You and your cohorts, is that the word?
Yeah, that's
you guys
what it is.
Single-handedly ruined the MVP
You and
award.
your ilk.
Oh, you're kind. This is getting weird. False nadirs. Are we in a little false nadir? Our favorite word of the show.
A fey deer.
A fey deer. We're going to talk about the top 5 false nadirs of the Jokic era. God, our show's the best. We're going to talk about buyout candidates. As unlikely as it may be, maybe it's guys that are going to end up on the other team. So we'll talk about that. And then, of course, the race for the 1 seed in the Western Conference is heating up with an incredible game last night. To help me talk about all of those things, the man who walked here, and we'll let you know about it every day, Brendan Vogt.
Joke's on you. I did walk here. I did. It was nice day for a walk. Sun peeking out, fellas. I know it's only the 13th, but I don't know.
Knock on wood, it's been a good little winter.
It's been a good little winter.
A lot of sunshine this winter so far, knock on wood. Over here, I got D-Line Co.
Just FYI, when it's warm during the winter, that's actually very bad.
Oh.
You're talking about for the global environment.
I don't know.
I'm talking about for what I dress and what I'm wearing. T-shirt.
I mean, you're not wearing a T-shirt. Yeah, you're right. Let it burn. Burn, baby, burn.
Let it burn. And then he's back, ladies and gentlemen. The man with the wind in his hair, Harrison Wind.
I am back, just admiring this official.
Can you believe it?
361 Nikola Jokic shoe here.
What size do you wear?
11. What are these?
Too bad, man. 10.5. Otherwise, I'd say you could take them.
What?
I'm falsely giving this.
I could probably squeeze into a pair of 10.5.
Not a pair like that, man. You don't want to do that.
Oh, by the way, Harrison, when you leave today, feel free to take Adam's car.
Oh no, I gave that away last year on my Twitter account. Yeah.
When I gotta give it to you, you are good in so many ways at this job, but none more so than picking when to take vacations. You do it remarkably well. You must have looked at the calendar. You saw these losses coming, and you said, fellas, little extended weekend. But you did watch, so we got to get your take, man. The Nuggets got blown out in 2 games.
Well, now I'm a little upset that I took the vacation because if I didn't, I would have been here to talk Nuggets fans off the ledge.
Yeah, that was a losing battle. That was not. You weren't going to succeed at that.
Oh, dude, they weren't on the ledge. They had leapt.
They had already
jumped.
Jumped. Yeah, you were
So
just
it was a
screaming.
lost
They would have
cause.
just pulled you with them, bro.
Yeah, dude, it's like talking Wile E. Coyote off the ledge as the anvil is falling on his head.
That
dude.
actually is the challenge. Is you try to talk Nuggets fans off the ledge, and they try to push you off the ledge.
Yeah, it's like
Don't stand between them and the ledge. You will get pushed off.
No, it's like what they tell you. Like, don't necessarily try to save a drowning child because
right.
they will take you down unless you're properly trained, and we are not.
That's why I always just let the kids drown.
That's why.
That's a good philosophy.
Yeah, I'm like,
there's a difference between letting them drown and causing them to drown. Just FYI.
oh, okay.
But when, in all sincerity, the Nuggets, they don't look this bad very often, and when they do, the Knicks, they usually bounce back. They did not bounce back in this one. So what's your take?
Well, as a collective fan base, I'm not surprised at the panic, but part of me did think that we were better than this. Part of me did think that coming off a championship and going through all the narratives that we went through last season would prepare us to not totally freak out at 2 straight losses. 2 losses in a row. The first time the Nuggets have lost 2 games in a row since the first week of December.
Wow.
That's how long it's been. And, I mean, I saw everything on Twitter. I watch your guys' show. If you're looking for a panic meter reading from me
Yeah.
on the scale of 0 to 10,
Yeah.
I'm at a 0.
Okay.
I'm not panicked at all.
Yeah.
And the context I'm looking at these two losses in is the first loss against the Kings,
Yeah.
second night of a back-to-back, coming off what was a hard-fought, close, intense, emotional night against the Lakers.
Yeah.
That was draining. I mean, it was draining for us. I can only imagine how much it was draining for the players who played. And then you're playing a Sacramento team that plays at a high pace. De'Aaron Fox, like maybe a top 10 player you don't want to play on the second night of
I think
back-to-back.
the Kings are probably top 3 team that's toughest on a back-to-back to
Right,
play.
right. So that loss, not surprising at all. I'm not surprised they got blown out. And then the Bucks, the All-Star break is right around the corner.
I like it.
And
You would have loved our excuse corner we did after.
I mean, this is right up there.
Yeah, this would have been really good.
The Nuggets looked to me last night like a team that is just checked out right now and ready for the All-Star break. It seems like that's how they approached the game. It seems like that's how they played for the majority of that game. And it's frustrating if that's the case. It's hard for us to wrap our heads around that kind of thing, but covering this league for as long as we have, that's a very real thing. People look ahead to the All-Star break, these last couple games before it, and I think that's what Denver did last night in Milwaukee mostly. And then you've got the injuries. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's hamstring is bothering him. I have no idea why he played last night.
Really dumb, man.
You could tell in the first minute of that game his hamstring was not right. And you got Jamal Murray so banged up he couldn't even play the second half. Michael Porter not at 100%. He's been on the injury report. So the schedule, how banged up they are, the All-Star break coming up, it's 2 games. They lost 2 in a row for the first time since the first week of December. I thought Nuggets fans, I thought we were better than this.
So what do you say, though, to the people that say, oh, wow, smoke some more copium, clown emoji?
And some more. In fact, I'll say it if no one else will.
What do you say to those people?
I say to those people, you were probably telling me that same thing this time last year.
Right, right.
Because last year, the bench sucked. Jeff Green sucks. They have no backup center.
Yeah.
What is Calvin Booth doing? Why aren't we making any trade deadline trades? Why aren't we adding anything to this roster? And then they did with Reggie Jackson and Thomas Bryant, and those guys didn't play a single important minute.
Yeah.
We're in a very similar spot to where we were last year.
The thing about following sports...
And also the Nuggets, they're 1 win worse at this point than they were last season.
So here's the thing that annoys me a little bit about it. And when you talk about what did we learn from last year collectively, or what should we have learned? D-line, 29 teams don't win the title. Nothing annoys me more than when an analyst goes out on the limb to predict that the team will not win the title.
Bold take?
Because it's like, okay, well, the Nuggets have existed for 70 years. They won 1 title. So, like, the challenge is always tough. And I think you view it through they're no longer going to win it as if it was ever above 50%. It's always an uphill battle for it. And it's like, yeah. So when you sit back and say the Nuggets will ever at best have a 20% chance of winning the title, it feels about where they are. They're just on a little losing streak, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, this is as same way I felt last night. Like, it just sucks, dude. Like, it just sucks. But like, it's you do feel like people should be more accustomed to this, but it's just like that's just not how sports work. Like, it's just not how they work. And more than anything, like last night felt like it felt terrible. Like, it just feels awful.
It didn't feel good at all, man.
You feel foolish for watching, for believing, and all this stuff. But then, 1 win goes by and everything changes. It is just the ebb and the flow of the NBA season. I think that a lot of times just people are not used to these long form sports. They just, even after last year, it just takes a different type of person to be able to just sit, grind through 80 goddamn games. Like, it's so many games.
Some people aren't built for it, Dylan.
Yeah.
They're not
Some
built
people
for
aren't
it, but
built
they
for it.
like. But it's
A lot
fun.
of
But I
people
get
out
it.
there
But
are
like,
built
you just have to, like the old axiom that rings true every season: never too high, never too low. We got that all wrapped up in a bow this week. The Lakers game was so awesome,
Dude, after that game, everybody was like, nobody's beating Denver in a 5-game series. I don't care. Then they lose 2 in a row, and it's like, it's over for
Everyone's beating them.
What's been really interesting is if you remember last year,
I don't.
those closest to the situation, us here in Denver, around the team every day, we were much higher on the Nuggets than everybody nationally was. This year, it's flipped. Everybody nationally is way higher on the Nuggets than
Right,
it seems
that's
like
true.
people are locally.
Well, nationally, there is a thing of like just chasing the thing that already happened because it's like safer. No one's going to make fun of you for predicting the thing that happened before to happen again.
Right.
Whereas if you go out on a limb.
Well, yeah, I mean, just some people just do live and die with every game, and that's the same energy that makes them the great people to watch the playoff wins with and to be in a parade with
You're right.
and to be in this studio. And so, like, I agree with everything you guys said, big picture. I think it was Steve Wynn somewhere in the comments there said, am I worried about the Nuggets? No, but they're teaching me not to care about the regular season.
Bro, this has been my frustration
And
this year.
I love this complaint.
Me too.
Because
Good comment, Steve.
I don't want. Does the regular season matter? I don't know. I don't know to what extent it does or doesn't. Honestly, I don't know what the true answer is. I know that I want it to.
Right.
Because
right,
like the fans who live and die with every game,
Totally.
I come in here every other game because I love this shit. And I really like watching it and I really like caring. And I don't know, man. If nothing else but for the sake of pride, you want to see more of these athletes compete night in and night out. And obviously, big picture, the Nuggets are winning a lot of games and they're competing very hard. But I do get why fans just 2 blowouts in a row where they seem to go, we'll fix this on the other end of the All-Star break. Even if that's valid, it's still disappointing. It's still disappointing.
And this has been my thing about Murray. It's actually been my complaint is like, I still have all the confidence in the world that he's going to do exactly what he always does and dominate the playoffs. My thing is, as a fan, it's a shitty thing to sit here and be like, that's the price you pay, is you pay all the time and money and energy and emotional investment for 6 months that actually don't matter, and they're going to tell you it doesn't matter.
Well,
and you're like, that's the trade-off you have to make, and we'll still make it.
Well,
but
also
it does
they're
suck.
a game and a half out of first place.
Yeah, of course.
This would be a different story if they were like
Right.
the 6th seed.
Yeah, just every game was like,
But also, if you want to look at this from the other point of view, the larger point of view, it's like good to have salt with your sugar. Like
Ooh.
I
I like this take.
Well, it's true. Like the Golden State Warriors were unbothered for however many years,
It
and
looked
they just
fun, though.
they just got completely numb to it.
Yeah.
They didn't even appreciate how great the team was. I mean, they did, but like it just doesn't seep in the same way. It's good to get kicked in the teeth every now and again, like to be like.
I agree. It happens to me a lot, first of all.
I know I kick you in the teeth quite often,
Yeah.
very literally. But
down here.
it's just you just have to be reminded of like that nothing here is promised. Like this is a very tenuous proposition. Every night is against world-class athletes. You cannot take any of this for granted. And if you should like just wallow in the misery if you're going to then reach the adulation. So
You can wallow in the misery. And I think it's even healthy in a sense to wallow in some misery.
it is, but it is silly. It is very silly though to once the event is over, once the fog has cleared, to still have these like negative feelings and not be able to like say like, all right, like what is actually happening? But
Right.
when it's like you watching that game, like you should have your hands in your face, like
You should.
face in your hands, like I did
Absolutely.
the entire time. Be like, what is wrong
Right.
with these idiots? I
You
hate
you
these
should
morons.
absolutely do that during the game. But after the game, you should not say Calvin Booth doesn't know what he's doing because he didn't sign Royce O'Neal.
Well, you're right, Will. You're right there.
Like you can totally like lose yourself in the game, absolutely. but you still have to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yes.
Well,
I get
you
that.
guys know.
Well said, guys.
I like your point too, though, about like I don't like when people tell fans how to feel because I do think fans are allowed to feel in a
they're
million different ways.
supposed
Like some fans can be very calm in this moment, some can be panicking. Like I think it's fair. You know, I wish he wouldn't tell me to go F myself as often as they do that.
and again,
but whatever.
more
You
than
know what?
anything,
we're
leave-
here to be told that.
More than anything, leave clowns alone. Dude.
Yeah, leave clowns alone.
They've got a
Discussion.
really
bad
Respect
rep.
clowns. But you know what? There have been moments throughout the Jokic era, which is the era we've all been covering, the Jokic era, where it has felt like it was over. You might even call it a nadir, but it was a false nadir.
We
Like,
would definitely call it a nadir.
We did call it a nadir. Where it felt like everything was over, but in fact it was just the dark before the dawn. So we're going to do a top 5, Bet365,
Hey!
never ordinary, top 5 false nadirs. Not a false summit,
Wow.
a false
This
nadir.
is the most DNVR top 5
This is
ever.
the most top 5.
Wait, this
We're going
has-
to relive some moments that felt bad, but you know what? They ended up not being as bad as you think.
We really-
Number 5,
we
Gail.
really nailed this one, and you were
No
definitely
way,
just.
I think this is great.
You definitely just went to top 5 false nadirs online and just copied and pasted.
Yeah, that's a real Google job. Isn't it?
Y2K, was that number 1?
Not in the history of mankind. We're not doing that. I
Oh.
just the Denver
Sorry.
Nuggets.
I'm kidding.
All right. Tim
Y2K
Conley
might have been
leaving.
number 1.
Tim Conley leaving. You guys remember how bad it felt?
Yes.
The
Oh,
side
I do.
door
Everyone
and
was
all this. And
Everyone's
he
got
broke
mad
it.
at
right
us
out
for
the
how
side
much.
door.
Like I was very upset, and I still am.
And we still are. And look, man, that Timberwolves team keeps getting
I was going to
better.
say one slight pushback. Not thrilled he went to Minnesota.
I'm not thrilled with it either,
Not
but I
thrilled.
will say they did win an NBA championship
Yeah,
after
that
this,
worked
so
out. That
it-
immediate. I think this belongs on the
But
So
list.
I
they
think it
won
actually
an
belongs
NBA
on the list.
championship based on the work that Tim Connolly did.
I know, but him leaving, he still had already done the work.
But that's
It's
like,
true. We're like, they call this a title or
but
bust.
this is
year.
like you take a jump shot and then you get tackled after the shot
Yeah.
has happened. The shot goes in, but you can still be mad that you got tackled.
Hands part of the ball.
But again, it felt in some ways like, you know, oh, this is falling apart. And,
I know, it's
and
true.
actually, they ended up just being fine. And Calvin Booth, maybe even
We
gave
have-
them a different thing
Yeah,
that
no.
maybe they
We're gonna
needed,
need,
you know?
but we're gonna need larger 2020 vision, much larger perspective to understand.
Adam, I don't know.
Every couple of years, we change our opinion on that move. It's just like,
You can't analyze things that you're in the middle of.
yeah.
I think the
Well, I
jury's
can't-
still out
they
on
won.
Calvin Booth after he didn't sign Thad Young. The jury's still out.
Still out. Number 4.
Get it.
Number 4. What do we have, Kale? Spurs game 1. This is, of
Bro.
course, 2019. The
What a
Nuggets have
nadir.
never made the playoffs. And we get into game 1, and everybody kept saying, Yoke, that's a regular season player. Wait till they get to the playoffs, he'll get exposed. And guess what happens? The worst team in the playoffs that year, the freaking Spurs, cooked the Nuggets in Denver. Just roasted them.
Dude, we didn't even have our bar yet. We were at Redacted in Logo,
No, you know where I was. No,
hating every second of
that
it.
was not that one. That was.
Oh, you're right. That was game 6.
Oh, thank you, yeah.
I, for the first and only time in my life, was gifted through some strange circumstance a box.
Really?
For yourself?
I was me and like
Just
a
him.
bunch of people. Like I was able to invite a bunch of people because they couldn't sell it or something.
What?
And I got a box for that. And it was the fattest I've ever lived. And then I just got punched in the
Yeah.
face over and over by the
Derek
Nuggets.
White.
By Derek White, namely.
Yeah.
Derek
Yeah, dude.
White just driving right by Jamal Murray
Dominating
every
Jamal
play.
Murray,
Yes.
Yoke just getting cooked in the pick and roll. It was very dark as our first foray into the playoffs. It was like, oh god.
Yeah, dude. Then I spent a bunch of time putting like Derek White slander all over the timeline, and now I feel bad about
Now
it.
you feel bad for it. All right, number 3. Guys, there's been some false nadirs you goes over the history. Number 3, the last month of 2023.
Holy
What?
smokes!
This
was
never
that
happened.
That was a deep nadir.
It
Do
didn't
they
feel
have a
good.
switch?
Do you think
they
it's
have a
bad
switch?
now?
Yeah.
You weren't here for the last month of last season.
This does remind you a lot of last year where they just kept losing to everybody and you kept saying like, all right, guys, enough. Turn it on. They never did.
How'd they ever win a championship at him?
Until they went to the playoffs and then they flipped that switch really hard in the other
They
direction.
must have had Royce O'Neal.
Dude,
then.
how could there be a more falser nadir than that nadir?
Well, you'll be surprised to find out that once upon a time, number 2, in the bubble, they were down to the Clippers 3-1.
yeah.
This one also felt like a pretty bad, like, damn.
I remember
Not
that.
in the driver's
The
seat.
best part
They
about
were
this
not
is
in
a
the
real
driver's
false
seat.
nadir because what everyone remembers. Oh no, I'm thinking of Game 6. What's the clip of the wives and girlfriends dancing?
Yeah.
And the broadcast has the scoreboard
Oh,
wrong.
yeah.
So it actually looks even worse than it was. And then they came back and won.
But that one, of course, was a big nadir to see how are they going to come back from 3-1 2 times. But while the remix was great, the original is still the best. And we didn't even put game 4 where they went down 3-1. It really was game 3, the all-time nadir of nadirs, where it looked like Jokic was the biggest fraud on earth and Gobert was actually the most surprised player. Very bad feeling. Felt like everything was over, but guess what? It really was the dark.
We're
before
so
the dawn.
back.
We're so back. It
literally-
was so over, and now we are so back.
It was the only flicker of fraudulence in his entire run.
Yeah.
But it really, in the moment, just
felt
in the
terrible.
moment, take yourself back there. We all felt
dude, because it was at the beginning of the real run.
We felt a real doubt. Yeah,
yeah, dude,
man.
you were like, oh no,
Yeah.
we've lied to ourselves.
And how did he finish that series? Hitting a game winner over Rudy Gobert.
And you know what a lot of people told us after that game? Told you so. Made that bold prediction that the Nuggets were not winning the championship. A lot of people made that bold prediction at that moment, and they were wrong. Even though they went out on the world's most sturdy limb, they still fell while we rose.
Do you remember who was held the shovel for our very first nadir?
Who?
Nick Wright. He was trying to.
Oh, yes.
That was the beginning of Fraud City. Everybody was telling us that we were a bunch of idiots.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
now
right.
people tell us we're clowns. Everything's changed.
All right, let's take a break. On the other side, you guys, the MVP conversation is heating up, or
Let's
is it?
go.
I'm not sure.
Dude.
As the straw poll came out for the first time since Embiid has been eliminated from
You
contention,
straw pollers.
and you'll never believe who came in first. Spoiler: it was Jokic.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned to find out.
Guys, the beer of the month from Breckenridge Brewery, it's the Avalanche Ale. You can get it here at the DNVR bar. You can get it wherever they sell Breckenridge Brewery. I'd say the real first staple of Breck Brew in my mind, the Avalanche Ale.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great tasting any time of year, especially this month. You can get it here at the DNVR bar. If you don't know where to get Breck Brew, check out their beer locator online, breckbrew.com. Just type in your zip code. Shows you exactly where to get Breckenridge Brew. Try out some of our other favorites as well. Mile High City Nuggets, Broncos Country Pale Ale, Juice Drop IPA. They got Good Company hard seltzers as well, if that's more your style. Check out their beer locator, breckbrew.com, to find a Breck Brew near you.
Pairs nicely with the NBA, which pairs quite nicely with the Bet365 app, where it's never ordinary. At Bet365, they don't do ordinary. Every sport, every game, every moment should be epic. You can make it so. New customers can choose between two offers when they open an account at Bet365. Use the code DNVR365 to sign up. Deposit $10. Get to choose between your bet and get offer or your first bet safety offer. And there are some cool things you're going to see. Pay attention to the dashboard. They got a lot of little tricks and games and bonuses. One of them that I like is the NBA early payout offer.
That's a nice little trick.
Occasionally you'll be able to bet straight up on a money line and get your straight bets paid out or parlay selections marked as winner when your team goes up by 20 points. That's happened 3 times already for the Nuggets. I think it's happened sometimes for teams playing
I was
against
going to
the
say,
Nuggets.
think how sweet that would have been last night to bet against the Nuggets.
So many cool ways to play and win with Bet365. You have to be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please do gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
One more thing. Kel, will you bring up our special collaboration
There
we've done
it is.
with
P-Watt, Swatson.
the official collaboration? I actually was outside the room when P-Watt was having those photos taken. I felt very, very big time. It was
You were
cool.
outside the room?
Yeah,
Not
just
enough
those,
room in there to cast the shadows.
Oh.
He was voted out.
well, I do cast quite a large shadow, both from my
that wasn't
both
what
from
I
my
was saying.
both from my stature and my the size of my body.
Yeah.
But listen, it was very cool to work with. He's a very awesome guy. He's going to be in Denver for a long time, I believe. So show the man some support and support us at the same time. Let's go.
Let's go. Guys, Tim Bontemps has been doing the straw poll for a handful of years. Very contentious. Very contentious. But this year, something happened where Joel Embiid missed the first ever games limit, which, by the way, everybody was so up in arms about that. He's going to end up missing like 35, 40 games.
yeah,
Like, it's not gonna matter.
nobody's talking about it anymore.
When the rule came out, everybody was in favor of it. If you
Very in favor
remember.
of it. Very in favor of it. Yeah.
It's a lot of games to miss, man.
So it's kind of ridiculous. But nonetheless, I digest. If we go back, so now the straw poll comes out, and drum roll, Nikola Jokic dominating the poll. He has, first of all, 100 votes.
I thought the Nuggets were cooked.
Nice.
Only player to get 100% of the vote. They get interview 100 people. He got them all, and he didn't get any fifth place votes. So he only got first, second, third, and fourth votes. And in fact, he only got 3 third and 3 fourth, which tells you that, he is an overwhelming favorite now.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it works, right? We'll see how this plays out.
Yeah.
This is about the time of year where we start to see real movement.
Yep.
As the final runs take place. I will say, I am more into plastic straws that kill turtles than I am the straw poll.
More into them as in you like them more?
I prefer plastic straws that kill turtles
Okay.
more so than the straw poll.
Well, the straw
Just
poll...
to be clear, it was the problematic angle. Just to be clear.
I don't like the straw
Gave him an out.
poll.
He's like,
He's
no.
like, no.
Listen,
I don't like the straw poll. It is more pollutant to the NBA than the straws are to the ocean.
Well, so a funny thing, the odds in Vegas perfectly match the straw poll results, and I don't think that's a coincidence. So we always see movement on straw poll day, and the fact that they match this, it does tell you that this straw poll has so much, influence over it. Now, I should also say that in each of the last 2 seasons, the player that was number 1 in the second straw poll, they do it 3 times. The player that was number 1 in the second one has lost.
yeah.
The player that has been number 2, who in this case is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the player that has been 2 has won. And I got to be honest with you, fellas, I could totally see a repeat trend. There's going to be, I think Shai and Luka are the 2 names. Luka coming in 4th, Giannis 3rd. I think those are the 2 names that we're going to see in the back half of the season. People just being I kind of like that. It's new.
Yep.
It's a new team. It feels like a story.
Yep. I do wonder if this year, sans so far, other narratives, I wonder if seeding is going to wind up playing a bigger role than it has in some of the more recent MVPs. And to that end, SGA maybe sitting pretty. We'll see how the Thunder and Nuggets finish the season. Luka will need to make a real run, I think. The Mavs will need to make a real run. Luka himself has done many MVP caliber things throughout the season. But the Mavs also are poised to they're at the bottom of the pack. And that's they can shoot to the top. It's not a lot of ground to cover. So I haven't ruled Luka out of this thing, but I do think right now it's Jokic and SGA, and I think the seeding might play a big role.
I agree. I think Jokic and SGA are in tier 1 of this conversation, and it's just them 2. And honestly, if the Thunder win the West, I think SGA wins MVP. If the Thunder are 2nd in the West, I think Jokic probably wins MVP.
Even if the Nuggets are 3rd or 4th?
Maybe not 4th, but if they're 3rd, I could see Jokic still winning it. But if the Thunder win the West, I mean, that's a great story to go along with his season. Number 1 in the West, the best conference, a loaded conference this year. And the Thunder, have been consistently up there all year long. So I think right now it's between them 2. And then, the next 2 contenders up are Luka Doncic and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Those 2 are next up for sure. And I do think, though, it is probably Luka probably SGA or Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, see, for me, it's just I saw this happen to Giannis, where he was in many ways as deserving, or could be argued even more so than Jokic when Jokic first won his MVP. People don't like giving it to the same guy. This is when you look back.
Well, you're racist if you do.
But this is when you look back and you're like, why does LeBron only have this many? Why did Mike, shouldn't he have been the best? He was the best player every year, but this is a narrative award more than anything. And I've said this for a long time. I really think Luka's going to win. I just think that they want him to win. He's been next up for so long.
But why? Look at him. He's 4th. He only got 3
I know.
first post.
Listen, I
They're
get
8th
it.
in the West.
I know. I get it. It's the 8th in the West part. But if what you're saying the other night, the Mavericks and the Warriors truly are on an ascension, I believe that will be something that, if they can actually make real movement, I think that they want to give it to Luka more than they want to give it to anybody else. They will give it to SGA if they finish first, and they will begrudgingly give it to Jokic if he just does what he's been doing and the Nuggets finish at the top or near the top. But I just think that there is a desire to give it to Luka.
What's tough about Luka and the Mavs is they are 8 games back from the 4 seed. Like, if you have to go on the road in the playoffs, if you're not a top 4 seed, to me, historically, that has been a thing that people look at and say, how can you be the MVP if you're not even a top 4 seed in your own conference? The Mavs are not going to be a top 4 seed. That would be an insane run if they were. If they are a top 4 seed, he's for sure. But they're 8 games back. That's like, I don't see that happening. I'm sorry, 5 games back. 5 games back. I misspoke. 5 games back. So I don't see that happening. They're going to be at best a 5 seed. And to me, I just wonder if that's going to factor in. I would not mind historical precedent changing. It has changed once for Nikola Jokic, and it was in a season when he was missing his guys. You know, they had a bad team.
And there was also not the top tier quality MVP candidates that there are this year, that season.
So I don't mind it because you could make a case, and I would buy it, that Luka has been the most valuable player. You know, like you can make that case. But just historical precedent has had these unwritten guide parameters.
It just all depends. The momentum going into that vote is all that.
If he storms, it's only a game and a half to get the 5th seed, right? So let's say they get the 5th seed and he's far and away the best player in the NBA. Is that enough?
I don't see how you can make the case he's the best player in the NBA, though.
There won't be a consensus.
So clearly not.
Right.
I
mean, honestly,
he's
really good.
That was the thing when Jokic won it as a 6 seed. He was so clearly the best player in the NBA.
But he's got a couple of those things. He's got a 73-point game. He's got like numbers of 50-point. It's like he has things that you can point to that then people will be like, this.
I think that, again, it's not my argument. You're telling me if somebody made the argument that he's the best player, it would not be too dissimilar to us making the argument back in 2021 that Jokic was the best. And people would say, Giannis just won. How can you say that? And we were like, yeah, but you know, I think that there are Mavs fans that would make that. I wouldn't buy it again, but I do think that it is as fair as the Jokic arguments we were making during his first MVP season. That being said,
he does have way more help than Jokic did that year.
Yeah, I mean, but also at the same time, I don't know, like Tim Hardaway Jr. is their 3rd leading scorer.
Kyrie's been out for like the whole year.
But at least like those guys are on the team.
Do you think it's going to get toxic, this conversation down the stretch?
I don't think so.
Think we're over it?
Dude, last year was a culmination of Jokic versus Embiid that had been going on for years and years. And we don't have that. We don't have that this guy versus that guy dynamic in the way that we have in years past. So I don't think so, but we'll see.
In my best Kendrick Perkins voice, can a Canadian win MVP of the NBA?
Oh,
wow, is that the new one?
I'm just thinking of what that guy could come up with at this point.
Yeah.
But he'd like SGA for reasons that I won't say out loud.
Yeah. No, all kidding aside, though, it's very hard to see it getting as toxic as it did last year because you're right. I mean, Jokic and Embiid, that not being the argument immediately makes it less toxic.
Totally.
And they were avatars, that unwittingly and unfairly avatars for all of these weird social debates that included obviously race and a million other things. Where I don't think that is the case anymore. Like once you take Embiid out of the equation, I don't think you're going to get that same, this or that team, between the two guys, like with Shea or with Giannis. Now that being said, I do expect Giannis to pick up some momentum down the stretch, especially if they can continue to win and they look really good. But yeah, I don't know. I find it interesting. How invested are you in Jokic winning it, though? Because I know we've all disagreed on this, but now that it's right, like his for the taking.
I hadn't thought about it till about this month, to be honest. But now I do think he's going to win it. And I want him to win it. I want him to get a 3rd.
Any chance he runs from it?
I think there's a chance he doesn't make a push for it. I don't know about runs.
I mean, that's like a lock.
I don't know
think
about
he thinks
runs
about
from
it.
I don't think he has to run from being like adjacent to white nationalism this time. You know what I mean? Right. So that's cool. So I don't know if he has to. That was a joke. Do all that. I don't know if he runs from it, but he's like, as we just said, he's definitely not going to look around and go, "Oh, I can take this now."
Do you think he runs from it?
I think that he approaches this season much like he did last season,
But he ran from it last year, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess from that standpoint, no, I don't think he'll run from it. Because I don't think it will be toxic. I just think that, like Vogt said, he won't go for it. Do I care if he wins it? Like, I'm on Wynn's side. This is
History.
Yeah, this is legacy stuff, and it does matter, and it would be great, and he does deserve it, and he is incredible, and I would love to bestow him with every honor that is possible to give an athlete, an NBA player, and a human being. Like, I just want Jokic to be appreciated, and there are things that are. You can always not watch him and discount him and say this, that, or the other. But there are then markers that you can't argue with at the end of the day when you're like, this guy was this, that. Like, those are the things that fuel those arguments and actually shut them down. So, yes, I hope and pray for that reason he does win it. But I personally don't have it in me to fight on his behalf.
Right.
Even though I truly believe that he is the MVP every night that he puts 361 sneakers on and
every
goes
time
on
he
the
laces
court.
them up.
Yeah, but I mean, I just also know what this is. Like, the MVP is just. It's farcical in so many ways. But I mean, I want him to win. But I bet on Luka the other day.
Here's what I'll say, Wind. And this will put a button on it or a bow on it, but the straw poll, maybe it's anecdotally, and I've been in meetings and stuff today, so I haven't been as online, but it seems like this straw poll has come and gone quieter than previous ones.
Absolutely.
So this MVP conversation might also not ratchet up at any point, even in April. It might just kind of be a little bit more of a talking point segment on TV shows, and that's it.
I think you're right. I mean, I haven't seen barely any discussion about this straw poll.
No.
And you compare it to the days when the straw poll dropped last year.
Yeah.
Those were like landmark days for NBA discussion over the last 12 months.
And I'm telling you, this is how media works, though. People always ask, like, how is Kendrick Perkins, employed or so popular, this or that? Well, it was like the top storyline, albeit in the most toxic way, but it really was headlines. And now you have one that doesn't have that, and it's like, oh, not moving the needle. I'm sure the people at ESPN content were looking at their numbers today going like, damn, man.
Yeah.
Last year's toxic conversation.
We were banking on, we're down 20% viewership on NBA straw poll days year over year.
I just realized that Wynn's Perkins Canadian take is going to happen.
But only 8 players have won 3 MVPs.
Wow. Yeah.
8 players,
it's a big
man.
deal to join that.
Russell, Chamberlain, Kareem, Moses Malone, Bird, Magic, LeBron, Michael. That's it. And Jokic can join that group if he wins it this year.
And I think look, this is not a hot take to anyone watching this show or on this panel. I think he belongs in that group. So I really want to see the third MVP, actually.
All right, let's take a break. On the other side, what's on the docket? Oh, yes! Buyout candidates. Are the Nuggets somehow going to buy out one of their players and then add somebody else? Could it be Danilo Gallinari?
Yeah. Let's stay tuned.
Stay tuned. There you go.
Guys, shout out to our friends over at Red Hawk Roofing, the best Denver roofers around. They are part of the DNVR team. They have decades of experience. If you have any roofing needs, Red Hawk Roofing, they are your go-to. Free no obligation roof and property inspections, free in-depth photo reports for all inspections as well. It's hail season.
Oh, man.
I hate hail season. You got to worry about your car, hail damage. Well, don't worry about your roof. Be sure you're prepared for hail season. Make sure your roof is ready to go. Don't take any chances with that. Give a call to Red Hawk Roofing. They'll make sure you're squared away. If you're looking for a new roof over your home or business, be sure to check out redhawkroofing.com. Tell them DNVR sent you.
There are a lot of financial institutions out there to consider. Please do consider Premier Members Credit Union. They're not a bank, which means they do things differently, like putting their members first with higher savings interest and lower loan rates. When you ride with PMCU, you get local branches, friendly tellers, and the tools you need to save smarter, like their new high-yield savings account, or earn 5% APY on your first $2,000 with the reverse tier money market, baby. When you become a new member at PMCU, you'll get $200. That's nice. Might just do that. I could use $200. You just have to open a checking account and sign up for e-statements. It's that easy. This will be your best money move yet. Head to becomepremier.com to find out more.
There you go. All right, we are back. When today you published a story, which I will admit I have not seen yet. As I mentioned, I've been in meetings all day. I've been meetings all day. But about buyout candidates, we are in the time. And look, first let's start around the league. You get a buyout candidate in Thad Young going to the Phoenix Suns.
How old is Thad Young?
Dude,
Old.
Yeah, Thad Young was old like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I
when it was
know.
like, is he on his last leg? He's still going. He is. Thad Young does have
He's
a little bit of
35.
Robert Covington
Is it
in him,
like- is
where
it
it's
a-
been like 10 years that we've been talking about him as the missing piece.
Is it ironic that his name is Thad Young?
Yeah. He's 35.
He's 35.
That old.
Thad old, dude.
Yeah, well, funny enough, Thad Young was on my buyout big board this morning. Number 5.
Number 5.
Yeah, he was number 5 on my Nuggets buyout big
So then
board.
you must think that this helps the Phoenix Suns.
Well, I didn't really think it would help the Denver Nuggets, but I had him on there anyway. Thad Young, I tried to talk myself into Thad Young. I logged on the Second Spectrum, watched a lot of his possessions. He's not good. He's not good anymore.
Thad cooked.
He can rebound a little bit. He's actually a pretty good passer for a big man, but he has no offensive game, does not have great touch. I just don't think he's good anymore. Him being number 5 on my list, I think shows you how weak the buyout market is this year.
Yeah.
And every year.
My read is it's significantly weaker than it was last year.
Well, I will say there is a good player, though, that ended up choosing a team. Spencer Dinwiddie going to the LA Lakers.
True.
That guy is the type of player that the Nuggets struggle against. He is quirky, and he seems to rub teammates the wrong way, but this is the beauty of a buyout guy. You don't have to be around the team that long.
Yeah, and he does feel kind of like, not to that last point, but kind of like Reggie Jackson did last year. Like, you're looking at the top of the buyout market. Okay, there's a name you know. There's a guy that could score 20 points.
Yeah.
There's a guy that could help us.
30 points, 40 points. I mean, he has big game potential.
Yeah, but I do think you do always have to stop and remind yourself there's a reason why the buyout guys are on the buyout list. And there's usually a long list of answers to that question. And I think with Spencer, like, this is a guy who hasn't stuck anywhere. And he makes sense to me as a wild card play for a team like the Lakers.
Right.
But I do think he's kind of a classic buyout guy. And we have to remind ourselves, we joked that Thad Young was 5 on your list. That's deep on a buyout list. If you get to 5 guy, I mean, usually the best guy doesn't help you.
Here's the thing, though, here's how I feel about buyouts, and it actually brings me to Monte Morris. Sometimes a team just needs a very specific thing, and it doesn't matter that the player is not good at everything. It's just they do something. And I think Spencer Dinwiddie gives the Lakers shooting, and he gives them another ball handler, which they desperately need. And so to me, I look at it and I go, and he's actually not bad. I mean, he's been very
Spencer Dinwiddie's
bad.
a good player.
Yeah, but he's been bad for the last 2 months, but I think he wanted out of Brooklyn, and that was part of it. So I don't know. I look at it and I go, as far as buyouts go, I think Spencer Dinwiddie is, sadly, about as good as you expect for the Lakers.
I wasn't even really counting him as the traditional buyout guy, because it was obvious he didn't get traded because he was gonna get bought out and signed with the Lakers.
Right.
It is wild that we do live in a new era where last year we actually were able to get one of the top buyout
We
guys.
dominated the buyout market last year.
It is a wild, that was never even a consideration before
Yeah.
that you would be able to get one of the top buyout guys. They always go to the Lakers, they're the Heat or whatever. And, living in this new reality, we all like Reggie Jackson, but we did not like him last year. He was not good last year. It is a big thing to come to a team midway through, try to make your mark, try to be impactful enough that you can not only impact the regular season, but be valuable and reliable enough that you can be trusted in big moments. It is a crazy thing. But yeah, you just have to remember, somebody's trash and somebody else's trash also.
That being said, let's talk about the Nuggets' likeliness to get a buyout guy. The first thing they'd have to do is open up a roster spot. That's hard to do, Wind.
So I'll just come out and say it. I don't think the Nuggets are going to be making any additions on the buyout market. In fact, from everybody I've talked to, I would be very surprised if they made any moves. I think this is the team the Nuggets are rolling into the playoffs with.
I 100% agree. It is possible if they were to buy somebody out. I just don't think you buy out Vlatko Cancar, in large part because he is a usable player. Yes, he's injured, and maybe even at the start of next year is still coming back from that injury.
Yeah.
But the price point on him is so dang cheap that it's so hard to find anybody for his contract, $2.5 million. It's hard to find anybody for that amount of money just to backfill the spot. So to me, I think the Nuggets look at that and are like, hey, man, could we end up playing him like 500, 600, 700 minutes next year, even coming back from injury, absolutely. And if you can get that for $2 million, you keep it. So buying him out just to be able to, but then just to get a guy at the buyout deadline, I think you would have to really feel good about the guy you were getting and also feel really good about this year needing that guy.
Are there rules against if they were to buy him out, then just reacquire him essentially after the?
That's a good question. I thought there was a rule about a player had to play somewhere else, but there might be like a statute of limitations that is just this year. The reason being is like if the Lakers just were like, we're going to buy out Anthony Davis, pay him his full contract, and then re-sign him on a cheaper contract so he gets his full contract, but that allows us to lower our salary cap. That's the reason you wouldn't do that.
Right.
So I think that there are rules about if a team buys you out, you have to like play somewhere else before coming back to them or something like that.
Well, and then I think the other most obvious candidate for the Nuggets to cut and open up a roster spot would be Justin Holiday, who, I think Michael Malone really likes, actually. Yeah. And has like come into this team and has been a solid voice in the locker room and is a trusted veteran. And I don't know if you would want to shake that up if you were only like marginally upgrading that spot on the roster.
Yeah.
It feels like a lesson learned last year, right? Not necessarily clearing a roster spot, but I've been calling them Band-Aid fixes the last couple of weeks. And I think you get into Band-Aid fixes when you've got a superstar who you're not sure if he's going to stay. You need this year to be competitive. You don't know what your roster is going to look like 2 years from now. I'm thinking LeBron in Cleveland, right? And you start making all these Band-Aid fixes. Every asset out the door for anyone that can help us in the next 5 minutes. And the Nuggets are just not going to take that position with Jokic and really this entire starting lineup together. That doesn't mean they're punting on this year. They're not going to trade assets for a Band-Aid fix when they did that last year and it had no impact.
2 years in a row.
Think of Thomas Bryant. Yeah, and it's just so, again, it's like it can be perceived as, they're just not trying or, they're complacent. But some teams are more desperate than others. And some of these moves around this time of year do need to be looked at as desperate and not savvy.
Yeah.
Just realized I haven't eaten today.
That's not savvy at all.
That was really
that
bad.
Is desperate.
That's so desperate.
Everybody wants to know, though, one of the names you keep seeing on the buyout market, Danilo Gallinari, our old friend.
He was number 2 on my buyout big board. Danilo Gallinari.
Good story.
Guys.
Reunited with the Nuggets.
I would love it.
If the Nuggets had an open roster spot, I actually could talk myself into this.
Same, man.
I was very curious. I was like, does Danilo Gallinari have anything left?
Yeah.
And then I popped onto YouTube and watched him score 20 points and shoot 4 of 4 from 3 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, he actually might. And do you remember the Jeff Green ISO play that the Nuggets loved to run last year on the second unit? Could you imagine them running that for Danilo Gallinari?
Not really.
Really? Because I could, and I would actually bet you Gallo would score more efficiently out of that play than Jeff Green did.
Jeff Green seemed to never score on it. So
That
I think
part
that
I
is
can
possible.
buy. That part I can
Malone
buy.
loved that play because it was a play.
Yes. They could run that same play
Yeah.
for Gallo, man. I'm telling you.
You ran it and you got a shot and you didn't get a turnover and it missed.
Gallo
and
would cook on that
He
play.
missed a shot.
basketball.
He
Missed
would
a
cook
shot.
that play. But when I'm looking at the Nuggets second unit, man, they could really use another shooter. They
Yeah.
could really use some more spacing. When you've got, Jamal Murray getting double teamed and your outlets, 2 of your outlets are Christian Brown and Peyton Watson. And then the playoffs, another one of your outlets is going to be Aaron Gordon.
Yeah.
Man, you would love another capable shooter out there. And Gallo can still shoot it. He can still light it up from 3. So, again, I don't think the Nuggets are doing anything based off everything I've heard.
What's Bryn Forbes up to? Just kidding.
If they did have an open roster spot, I could talk myself into Gallinari.
We should do our all-time. We should have done a Bet365 top mid-season acquisitions of the Jokic era, and like Reggie Jackson's number 1.
Easy.
Just to give you the
With a
list
bullet,
of like
dude.
how. Oh, you're right. Aaron Gordon was a trade. You're right.
Gordon.
Midway through the season. It's clearly all right. Outside of that, though, outside of Aaron Gordon, because you do have a lot of like Bryn Forbes, and you have a lot of Devin Harris, and
Did you guys see the
JaVale
Bryn Forbes
McGee.
news today? By the way,
There was news?
I think they finally remember there was the
He punched
domestic
somebody
abuse,
or- oh, it was domestic abuse?
I think he finally got charged.
Way to bring that
today.
down.
I saw
Yeah,
we were
I
joking
know.
about it.
I was
All
just-
right.
yeah, dude. My vibes-based analysis.
Yeah.
Bring Gallo home.
Yeah, you personally would love that.
Nothing on earth would make me happier.
Really?
Te amo, Gallo. I love
Is that
Gallo.
Spanish?
No, you know, those are both romance languages. They all originate from the same source.
But I don't know. Is that how you say it in Italian? I actually
Yes.
don't know. It is te amo. It's the same one. Not ti amo.
I don't know.
If you
Say
listen,
it like
He
that,
did
that's
say
the
it with
difference.
convention, but-
whatever the case,
It is Ti amo.
what an
Ti amo?
unbelievable, what
Man,
an
how do I speak all the
unbelievable
languages?
way to just wrap it all, like come full circle. The Nuggets had the greatest. But things have changed. Dynamics have changed.
Look,
Yoke came in
and
and it
him
was Gallo's team.
Didn't really get along because Gallo was the best player, and then Yoke was coming up, and I think Gallinari felt a little type of way about
That's what I'm saying.
relinquishing
Right.
best player on the
That's
team.
what I'm saying. That was Gallo's team.
status. I mean, now,
So Gallo was like reached out to Yoke and was like, "Man, I was wrong.
man,
I didn't even
I
have
was
to.
wrong. You give me that game ball, I will sign it this
I will
time.
sign." Can you imagine if he signed it years later? What a story, man!
That's what I'm saying.
What a story.
Bring Gallo home.
He's like, yo, bring the ball back out. Man. Bring them. I'm ready.
All right, let's take a break on the other side. Our final segment, which is the 1 seed. Let's take a look at some odds and ends.
You don't want to know who numbers 1, 3, and 4
I want
are?
people to read your story. I want people to read your
Okay,
story on
okay.
thednvr.com.
Okay. Guys, American financing interest rates have dropped into the 5s. It's the lowest they've been in a long time. American financing, their number one goal is to save you money. Save you money. They are saving customers right now an average of $854 a month by tapping into their home's equity and wiping out high interest credit card debt. Everything is expensive right now. To eat, take care of your home, to drive. Everything's expensive right now. But if you own a home, call our friends at American Financing. Tell them DNVR sent you. Call American Financing today, and you might be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. They care about their customers. They're all about customer service. That's their number one priority. When you talk with American Financing, it doesn't sound like you're talking to like just somebody in a call center somewhere. You're talking to somebody who actually cares about helping you save money. So give them a call, 303-695-7000, 303-695-7000, or go to americanfinancing.net/DNVR. NMLS number 182334, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. APR for rates in the 5 starts at 6.406%. For well-qualified borrowers, call 303-695-7000 for details about credit costs and terms.
Now, you probably don't think much about flooring besides the occasional that doesn't look right or that needs to be fixed. Luckily, our friends at the Empire Today, they spend all their time thinking about flooring. They're the best in the business, can't beat them on quality, service, or speed, and they've got a neat little philosophy which is about helping you find what you need and not be overwhelmed with thousands of choices or substitute. They've got great tools like their virtual floor designer, which is a cool way to see how the new floors will look in any space. It's easy, snap a picture, instantly see how new floors will look in your room. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive $350 off when they use promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details.
Alrighty, Kale. We have now, I wrote you in the chat, I don't know if you saw that. We have now 30-ish games to figure out who's going to be the 1 seed. Last night, the Timberwolves got a huge win over the Clippers. They spanked them. And it was a very interesting game because they spanked them by playing bully ball. The Clippers, even though they have their centers, they love their small ball lineups where they get to spread out. Harden goes through the legs like 9 times, and then they ISO and they hit these pretty shots. Timberwolves bullied them and said, too small, beat them in the paint, beat them up on the boards, and they get the win. So now they become the 1 seed. The Clippers fall back, and we're in this tight race. Let's take a look. So you did not have the odds on this one. Let me see. Pull them up. I'll try to pull them up on my phone here. Oh, you do have the odds. Okay, there you go. So the Timberwolves are at 37-16. The Clippers and the Thunder are at 17 losses. The Nuggets at 18. That's the number I always look at because you can't can't change losses. There on the far right are your Bet365 odds for winning the conference. It's surprising to me that OKC, worst odds of everyone, even though they have a better record than the Nuggets. And then those are the strengths of schedule. The Nuggets have the easiest.
A lot of home games coming up.
The Timberwolves have even more. They have 17 home games. I think the Nuggets have 16 home games remaining. The Clippers go on the road a bunch, and the Thunder have a somewhat tougher schedule. You looking at that, though, D-Line, what do you think? What do you think about how this shakes out 1 through 4?
I mean, you got to look at the remaining strength of schedule. Like,
Didn't the Minnesota have like the easiest first half schedule ever?
They don't have to play themselves.
it's just,
I
it's,
hate strength of schedule.
but this is meanupful.
They went
Like
through
this,
the tough part. They went
this
all in.
actually now at this point actually means something.
Yeah.
I assume that is updated as the teams win and lose. It's they don't just go off of the. It's not just set in stone. I mean, I love that for the Denver Nuggets. That to me, the Denver Nuggets, when they had an easy schedule, like that really soft stretch of their schedule where they lost to the Thunder twice, but otherwise ran the table. Like I looking at that, like I would bet on the Denver Nuggets. I would absolutely bet on the Denver Nuggets.
Nuggets is the 1 seed.
I would.
Wow. Okay. Well, the one thing you have to remember is tiebreaker. So not only are you behind in the standings,
Sure.
2 games, but also you got to beat them by 3. They do play 3 times though. Nuggets Timberwolves twice in Denver.
I'm saying, I like it.
What
I
do you
like
think,
it.
Vote?
That graphic was inspiring. That graphic was inspiring.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think if to
Second best odds, Nuggets.
yeah, I mean, I think it's because of the schedule, and I think we have yet to see the best of the Denver Nuggets this year for a sustained period. We may not, but I don't know, man. I feel good about it. I really do, and I think they're going to want the 1 seed, but they're not going to feel tons of pressure, and so hopefully that manifests in a good way for them. But I like their chances.
For me, I just think that this is a moment, the All-Star break, it is a moment to take stock. It's like the end of the year. It's like Christmas when you sort of like sit, you meet with friends, you take stock of what's important in life, and then you come back, you make a New Year's resolution, you move forward, you change your life forever. This is an opportunity for them to like really reflect on the season as it's happened and what is to come. And the fact that they have the least amount of resistance moving forward, and they know what getting the 1 seed means for them. They got it last year and they benefited from it greatly. I think that they, like as an organization, like understand it, will want to get the 1 seed. The fact that they'll be focused and have the least amount of resistance, like give me the Nuggets.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because if you remember last season, the Nuggets locked up the number 1 seed with a month to go in the season. And that's a big reason why they ended up mailing it in the last month of the year. But that's definitely not going to happen, it seems like, this time around. And I'm curious to see how badly they want the 1 seed. Because I do agree with part of what you said. Like, the 1 seed, I do think was a big reason why they did win the championship. Like, and they could have had it, obviously, if they were just a top 4, but having home court in every round, being dominant at home, and just having home court advantage through the entire Western Conference playoffs. I do think that was important. I do think that was a big thing. But the fact that they're in like a race for it this year, I wonder if they don't place as big of a priority on getting a 1 seed, and they're more just focused on health and being one of the top 4 seeds.
But
I think that the Clippers and Nuggets both have like real reason to sit and think about injury. Like, they need to be healthy and they should trust their teams if they get there. Whereas the Timberwolves and the Thunder have a little bit of newness to them. Like, this is our first time. You want to get a 1 seed.
They have the newness that the Nuggets had last year.
And they have a bit of youth to where, again, injuries can happen to anybody, but you're probably a little less concerned about, if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder, a little less concerned about those things. So that's something to factor in. But at the same time, man, it is there for the taking. And they do play each other a lot. I like the schedule breaking the way where Denver plays the Timberwolves 3 more times.
Yeah. It's massive.
Did you guys know there's another narrative week coming up?
Oh my God, when?
In 2+ weeks.
What is the narrative? Let me hear these games.
So the narrative is
You can
Four
hit
straight
that outro music, Kale.
4 straight games on national TV, but it's really 5 of 6 games on
I see
national
it.
TV.
Okay, this is right after the break.
At Golden State
Dan, by the way, playing great.
on ESPN.
Got another win last night.
That's on a
It's Utah,
Sunday.
pretty
Marquee
good win.
game.
A team that's given up, Utah.
Well, after last night,
Before last night.
they would have won last night. They would have been right there.
They traded. They just got rid of a bunch of players. Anyway, off you go, Harrison.
Versus Sacramento at home.
Man, tough one.
Then narrative week really heats up. Versus Miami, TNT.
Second night of a back-to-back.
At the Lakers,
Somehow.
ABC. Versus the Suns,
Yeah.
TNT. Versus Boston,
Man.
TNT.
Narrative week again. I
Narrative
can't believe
week
we got
part
another
2.
one.
Oh, God.
Narrative week part 2.
Can we survive another narrative week?
Probably. We probably can. We're built for this, baby.
The second narrative.
Nuggets got Sacramento at home tomorrow, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on an off day. Avalanche up next. They got the Capitals. Can they shut down Ovechkin?
Can they get a win?
Trying to think of any other
You think the
Capitals
Nuggets
players
are?
of years
You think
past
the Nuggets are panicking, man? The Avs.
in a full-on panic. Their show's up in 15 minutes. Everybody hit that like button for us on the way out. We'll see you on the other side.
Go
Let's go.
hockey. Slap shot.
We all silly like the mayor.